Hey everyone, so welcome back to another episode of Biomedcast. And in today's episode, we're exploring the exciting overlap between biomedical science and forensics, looking at how what we learn in class connects to real life investigations and applications.
That's right. We will be exploring how biomedical science graduates can crave out successful careers in forensic science, toxicology, and even beyond the lab.
Okay, and we're honored today to be joined by Prof. Chin Beck Yok, Dean of Industry Partnerships and Dean of Industry Partnerships and Engagement at IMU. So, with her experience and insight into student development, career pathways, and postgraduate opportunities, she'll be sharing with us some valuable advice today.
Yeah, Prof. Chin, welcome to Biomedcast.
Thank you for having me.
To start off, could you please tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your career role in IMU?
Well, long story because I'm old. So I was born in Malaysia. I grew up in the U.S., so I have a different perspective on education. So I'll try to limit it to the Malaysian context. So I spent many years, more than 30 years in the U.S. And my main, we have 2 degrees, one in physiology and one in toxicology, which is a subset of forensic science. And hopefully, my role in these two fields will shed a little bit more light to the science of forensics in this context.
Yeah.
You need to know anything else?
Maybe we can talk a little bit more later.
More
Yeah.
later.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your personal background. So, building on that, what does your role as Dean of Industry Partnerships and Engagement typically involve on a daily basis?
Okay, I started this role in 2023, and the challenge was to bring industry into IMU and to lock these industries into providing career opportunities. So as all of you know, internships are part of the curriculum where, for every program, there's a set amount of time where you either do 3 months to 6 months of industry. And for biomedical sciences, it's a bit different because you have your clinical diagnostic lab, right, as one part, and then you go and do your industry training. So in the context of biomedical science, it's only 3 months. In a lot of instances, it's very insufficient, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah.
But you will be going into your placement soon, so then you'll understand it. Because in a lot of times, when you go into industry, it takes a little bit of getting used to the environment, learning the culture, learning the system, and also learning on the job what you need to do. So by the time month 2 comes, you're like, oh, now I'm ready. But then you only have 1 more month to go. So it's kind of hard. So part of my role is to make sure that we bring in industries to sort of help refine that role of bringing the internship as a potential probation period to then letting them hire you. So we started this program called the Graduate Trainee Program, where we have currently, as of today, 64 industry partners who have guaranteed a few slots per program, depending on which program. And in that way, the students who come in to do the industry internship with these companies have a higher potential of getting hired because those slots are guaranteed as long as they have openings on an annual basis. If they don't have openings, it's fine. You just do your internship and then they let you know, hey, maybe, possibly the following year. But a lot of times as well, when you do internships, you find that you may excel in different areas apart from where you went in for the internship. Meaning that if you go in to an R&D lab, let's say, a research and development lab, then you find out, oh my gosh, I'm really good at talking. I'm really good at communicating. So the internship place will say, hey, have you considered doing a stint in marketing, sales and marketing? So it has happened a lot where the industry will offer a job to a student that is not part of their internship, applied internship. So I hope students will have that ability to make a well-informed decision, right? Whether the skills that they have then exposed that they're very good at can be considered a future career, right? So that's one of my main roles. My other role is to also bring industry into IMU to help IMU. I would say help IMU to have industry have a presence in IMU, meaning that as you know, in this day and climate where funding has been cut for a lot of
Oh yeah.
uh, areas, research is one of them. So partnering with industry is going to be very, very helpful, meaning industry comes in here, partners with the university to do fundamental research or translational research. And in that way, both sides will win.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the two main areas that I work on
I
as
see.
the Dean of IPE.
Okay. So, and looking at it from the student's perspective, like how does your department like actually support them, especially those exploring careers in biomedical or forensic science, like in deeper
Oh, in
exploration?
Deepa, well, we look at our database where we see where a lot of our students do internships, right? And then we filter them, and of course, a lot of them do it in in clinical diagnostic, which are hospitals. But then some students want to look at places like PDRM, right? And Institute Kimia Nagara, all these places that actually offer forensic science. And so the difficulty is it's very difficult to get jobs because it's a government sector, right? They only have limited number of jobs. So we always advise students to, you can do internship there, but then at the same time, you can complement that internship with acquiring or exploiting your skills in communications, in what do you call quality management, like LIMS. You know what LIMS is? Learning, acquiring all these skill sets to do quality, right? Communications, documentations, because that's what you're going to need anyway, right? So in forensic science, so by exploiting this, you can then open up the career field. Then you can actually work in different areas as well, right? So you're not restricted only to forensic science. I know everybody's like swayed by CSI, right? I was swayed by CSI, but that is the idealistic what we call a scenario, and not everybody is able to work in that area, because a lot of times when students come in, I'm sure when you guys came in, you said, hey, I'm going to biomedical science, I want to do forensic science, and then after a year or two you're like right? And I'm sure some of you have had that, right? I mean, I'm going to turn the microphone around. What do you think?
Me personally, I always found forensic science interesting because of the series that we would watch, and then now that I'm actually learning forensic science in semester 5, it's like, oh, you actually find out that a lot of it is paperwork, like you said, and yeah, it's not that.
It's not really
really,
yeah, so that's the ideal situation. But the good thing about shows like CSI is you learn a lot about DNA analysis, so which is what you're doing right now. So you're actually using a lot of these skill sets, and also the digitalization part, right? And you actually able to use these skill sets in every single career. So you're not restricted to only going into forensic science. So I'm not saying don't go and work in forensic science. What I'm saying is do your internship in forensic science. If there are jobs available, great. If not, then you have the skill sets to do everything else.
So are any do you know of any local companies or agencies that regularly hire students from biomedical
Well,
science?
For forensic science or just for other?
You can
Maybe
talk
we can
about
talk about
Yeah,
both, like
biomedical
yeah.
science
biomedical
and
specifically
Well,
and then
for
forensics.
biomedical science, okay, I'm gonna turn the tables on you again. So, what do you study in biomedical science?
Basically, I'm now Sem 3 student, so we basically like uh, histopathology and cytopathology, and also bioinformatics.
Mm,
And another one is we gonna to choose one selective module,
mm,
which is radiobiology and also the healthcare data analysis.
mm,
So I chose data analysis
mhm. That's a
because
very
like
good choice.
yeah, because I'm like more interested in this field, like
Mm.
more than radiobiology, because radiobiology is more than like a physical things, physics things.
Yeah, it's very physics, it's
Yeah,
very math.
and also like need to deal with many equations and calculations. So yeah, I choose
to avoid
to avoid to like use
math.
calculator.
I mean,
yeah, so
I chose
bio.
science
Like
to
numbers.
avoid math.
Yes.
Well, interesting because we bring it back to forensics because in the field of forensic science, there is forensic radiobiology,
Mm.
forensic pathology,
Mm-hmm.
right? And forensic digital forensics. So you see how it's related, what you're interested in, you can find it in every discipline, not only forensics, DNA analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Which industry has a lot of DNA analysis? You remember?
I don't know.
Yeah, semester 3. You're semester 5.
Yeah.
So the precision medicine
Oh, yeah.
companies, right? So anything that has to do with hereditary, not only forensics, right? We'll deal with DNA analysis, right? So there are a lot of jobs, right? Not restricted to forensic science. So what about you? Now she mentioned all those modules. So you're semester 5. You're a bit older. So what additional stuff have you learned?
What additional stuff?
Difficult.
Very. I mean, for this specific semester, we're actually learning forensics and pathology. So that's how I got to know all the different techniques as well. And another one we're learning is toxicology as well, which is quite difficult, and I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know. And as well as that, we're also doing professional development, which is meant to prepare us for the internship field, kind of. But yeah, besides that, it's all pretty similar. I'd say that we learn quite a lot of things, because we learn what pharmacy students learn as well. We'll learn pharmacology, and I'd say our field is very diverse.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
diverse,
yeah.
and nobody mentioned organ system.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
I'm learning reproductive.
Right.
That one is.
Yeah, because that I know because you have to do that for your your first long internship. But all these things like toxicology, there's also a forensic toxicology section. So you basically everything you learn, you just put a prefix of forensics in front. It's very simple because all you do is you find traces of that particular area. Forensic toxicology, you look at what metabolites, right, as you learn in the urine or the blood. And forensic, digital forensics, you look at cellular trails on the phone, right? Because if somebody says, "Oh, I wasn't around," "Oh, I can find you on GPS because your phone is active," and you look at all the trails. So that's forensics. So in fact, forensics itself can be replaced by the word investigative, right? So it's very nebulous, and so it just depends on how you define it.
I see. Interesting.
Okay.
And in today's job market, do you also see more demand for biomedical graduates in non-conventional fields like policy, data science, or even
Yeah, of course.
education?
Of course, and some of you have been in our GTP briefing sessions
yeah.
where you've heard from my diverse area. Fertility is a one huge thing,
Yeah.
right? medical underwriters is another, right? Because then you combine your skills of organ systems to your other understanding of, fraud, you know, and also keeping track of documentation, right? So there are a lot of positions. Of course, nobody wants to hear it, sales and marketing, right? But then again, sales and marketing, a lot of people think, oh, I'm just selling pipettes or, or things like that, but it's not really. For example, if you are selling a pharmaceutical, a drug, right, which some of the biomedical science alumni have done, you have to understand, like you mentioned, toxicology, metabolism of the drug. What is the distribution? What is the absorption? Remember bioavailability, right? All that stuff you gotta know, and you are selling it to physicians. So it is really a higher end of a sales and marketer, right? It's not just selling a piece of equipment. You're actually selling your knowledge, and you're teaching the physician how to utilize it, right? You understand, like you said, you did pharmacology. Yeah, this is pharmacology. So pharmacology and toxicology slightly different. One is only looking at the adverse effect. One's looking at the therapeutic effects, right? And you have that information, so you can sell them both.
So you need to like promote to them your medication things
Yeah,
and
yeah.
let them know what is the consequences like if the drug
Exactly.
is overused.
Exactly. So a physician may not be very good in pharmacology
I
or
see.
toxicology, but you are.
So
So you've learned it.
So we need to explain to them.
Yeah. So let me tell you. Let me ask you this question. So is sales and marketing bad in that context?
Nope.
Yeah. There you
Because you
go.
can use your knowledge to like
There
tell
you
them.
go. So that is the misnomer, the stigma of the public telling you, oh, you get a BM degree, you go and do sales and marketing. What? Then you're like, wait, let me tell you, let me explain. And if you explain it that way, their perception completely changes. Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
because like in other words, you kind of know more. You know more than the physician. You need
Yes,
to know
you do.
how to use the equipment
Yeah.
and how it actually works.
Yes.
So that's actually quite interesting. I did not think
Yeah,
of it
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I forgot where were I?
Okay. So now, are there any forensic related internship or placement available through IMU's network?
Well, we have a lot of partners, but in a lot of cases, we leave it up to the students. If the student says, "Hey, I want to do um, an internship in Institute Kimia Malaysia," right? Which we actually are considering bringing them in as a GTP partner. So what we do is we then contact the people at IKM, and we tell them, hey, we have a student who wants to do an internship with you. Is that okay? And then sets the ball rolling.
I see.
So our job in IPE is to do that.
Or
So
just to
we've-
contact.
Yeah, we make sure we match you.
I see.
So that is, and in the process of matching you guys, we can then approach that industry to become a partner. So then it'll make for the future interns make it so much easier,
Yeah.
right? So it is really a fascinating job. I think it's fascinating because I'm learning a lot as well. Teaching you guys, and then when you ask me questions like, where do I get a job? Oh my God! And then trying to explain to you, every occupation is unique, and don't discount the occupation until you find out a lot more about the occupation.
Like if the students want to do their internship at their hometown, and then IPE also can help them like to find a company or what like at their hometown.
Well, first of all, you probably would have an industry in your hometown that you're interested
real?
in. Yeah. We've had quite a few students. They say, hey, I want to work in clinic X in my hometown. Can you help me, get that? So you just give us all the information and we can help connect you,
I see.
right? Or alternatively, we have had some students connect with them first, right? And then they share with us because we have to know that business is legitimate because, and also as with every module in class in IMU, right, there are learning outcomes that have to be met.
Yeah.
can that industry match that learning outcome? Because if they cannot, then we cannot allow you to work there. You see what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if you don't have, let's say you have 6 learning outcomes, and that industry can only offer you 4, so it's not fair for you
Yeah.
because everybody else has the 6 learning outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part that we always try to explain to the students that the students sometimes may not understand.
Yeah. So based on this, like what skills would you say employers are currently looking for in students like us?
Recently, and I'm sure you've heard in some of our GTP briefings that the industries are looking for more proactive, more engaging
Yeah.
students because they want the students not to just be book smart. Can the students communicate? Can the students learn how to deal with hardy issues? Uncomfortable. How does the student then deal with uncomfortableness in the industry setting? Because I believe you will have those situations.
Yeah.
It's a matter of can you learn how to handle it. So it's that journey that the industry looks at. Do you have the potential to have that ability? So gone are the days that 4.0 students can get a job anywhere, right? So 4.0 is great. It gets you to the door, right? But can you then get into the room? Let's put it this way. And a lot of times, I'm sure you've heard from our GTV partners that the students who are good at communication skills usually would have a little bit of advantage because they're able to talk to the manager, their line manager. Because if you can't talk to the line manager, how are you going to work with your line manager, right?
That's true.
So that's one of the things I always encourage students. Oh, you haven't had my classes yet, but you have. How many times do I stop and ask questions?
A lot of times, very engaged. You like engage us a lot.
Yeah, because that's the way to do it. Because the more you're familiar with the engagement in class, then the easier it gets when you go for an internship because you're not afraid anymore. Right? So this is one of the things. Hopefully, this is what the hidden, I would call the hidden skills that you may not have, you may not think you have, but you do. So if I poke you hard enough, you will go ahead and do the job. Let's put it this way, right?
Okay, so now we move on to like how can students build these transferable skills during university, like things like teamwork, communication skills, and also some lab techniques.
So, well, first lab techniques. One of the easiest is to apply as a peer tutor because you've had some peer tutors in your labs, right? So say, hey, I wanna be part of being a peer tutor, meaning that you actually learn to teach your classmates or your juniors, right? So that is one of the ways to not only use your lab skills, but can you teach communication skills? Yes, right. So I'm using these 2 examples, teach and communication skills, because teaching also tells you one thing: you understand.
Yeah.
Right? You've always heard the old adage, when you teach somebody, you actually understand it more.
Yeah.
So when you have group settings, when you study,
Yeah.
right? So every group member has a task, right? So sometimes, the member says, okay, I'm just going to write it down and just give it to you. You're like, no, everybody has to present what you know.
Yeah.
That's presentation skills. That's understanding. That's teaching. Public speaking, right? So I think I covered all 3, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course,
Yes.
digital skills, ability to
use
use
tools.
all the tools like you've mentioned bioinformatics, data analysis.
yeah.
Can you process high volumes of data, right? And what's the other one? That
Teamwork.
teamwork, of course.
Yeah.
Working in a
also,
group.
Yeah. Like
Right.
presentation with each other.
Yep. And when you first started, practical reports.
Oh yeah.
The first practical reports are group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that? Was it easy?
No.
No, see?
Like
when
you
you
need
first
to
started,
distribute the work to
right.
them.
And out of 5 people in your group, who doesn't do anything? There's usually one person who like, I didn't do anything. So everybody else has to cover for that person. So this is how you learn how to manage a team. How do you then get that person who did nothing to do something?
Yeah.
So that's management skills within the group itself. So in school, in the curriculum, you're actually doing all that, but you may not realize it. Like I'm pointing out to you now because you're like, oh, so I'm saying, light bulbs going off. Yeah, well, really, I actually did that. So you are. So when people ask you, what did you learn when you were a BM student at IMU? And you're like, oh, I just learned organ system. So now you can say, hey, I learned much more than that. I learned how to do A, B, C, D, E, which are transferable skills. Exactly the word transferable skills. You can transfer it to anywhere you want. You can take it with you in any job or any career or any postgraduate stuff that you do. That's the most valuable thing. Information you can always acquire. Look at ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you do with that information? That's what makes you different. Yeah, Okay?
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned like communication skills and all that, but like, are there any specific soft skills that students often overlook but are actually like very important?
Well, communication is one of them.
Okay,
How many people in your class actually speak during when we do Q&A? How many? Out of 60, how
true.
many actually?
I'd say like 1, 2
Yeah,
most.
only one or
it's really
two.
low.
So I mean, I don't blame them because that's not how they were taught. So when I was back in the US, this is what we were made to do, right?
So there's
They
a lot
made us
more
speak,
questions, a
more
lot more
engaging,
answers.
more interactive, and so there are always pros and cons for everything. But in this day and age, I think communicating is very, very important, and to be able to not only communicate but communicate effectively.
So
How effective are you? Like in biomedical science, what is the effective dose? Right? You can take a dose, but it doesn't work.
yeah.
So what is the effective dose? So when you communicate, how do you effectively communicate? Reading, right? Reading to your audience. Or like I do always, I talk and I go around the audience and I poke you. Can you? What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? It forces you to do it. So effective communication I think is the most important thing, most important transferable skills, because if you effectively communicate, let's say if you have an issue, how are you going to tell your boss? You're going to write it down, say, hey, here you go. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right? You got to tell your boss, and how do you tell your boss? Systematically, in chronology, right? Proper documentation. You document it in chronology and systematically. So these are the things you learn, but you're not aware that you're learning. And you're practicing it, and you're not aware that you're practicing.
See. Okay, so now we talk about the postgraduate pathways and further education. So like, how valuable are postgraduate degrees or certifications for entering forensics related industries?
Okay, now this is I think in the Malaysian context. So with an undergraduate degree, it's very difficult to go beyond the technical skills. You just go and run the DNA, run the TLC, right, and so on and so forth. So, but when you need to be promoted, they can't promote you just with a bachelor degree. So you need a master's degree. But as you get higher up the rankings, you have more responsibility, administrative responsibility. So it pulls you away from the actual technical part. Okay, for instance, we go back to CSI. So this CSI is one got it right. Remember who was the leader, Grissom? Remember Grissom? The early Grissom. So who was the CSI manager? Okay.
I watched it a long time ago.
Okay. So Grissom was the original manager. He was a PhD, right? He was a manager. So his technicians did all the work. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the technicians have bachelor degrees. So why do you need a PhD to do all the technical skills? The manager with a PhD strategizes, figure out what's the issue and all that. So you see the analogy here,
Yes.
right? So with a bachelor degree, you just work on, I just run the samples. But it's not that simple. Run the samples, properly document the samples, right? Have a chain of evidence, as you know, right? That, I label everything correctly. Remember CSI, everything's labeled in bags. So documentation is important. So being a fresh graduate with the entry level jobs, the technical skills, you learn how to do that. And some people enjoy doing it, so they don't want to progress up,
I see.
right? But those who says, hey, that's all it is, I want to do more. But as they do more, they learn, hey, if I know more, I won't be able to do this anymore. So then they have to decide. So there are a lot of graduate programs that teaches forensic science. For example, for biomedical science in IMU, you have the direct entry into the master's program at Strathclyde, right? In actual forensics. So you finish your 3-year program here, and then you directly go to Strathclyde, right? And of course, opportunities in UK for forensic science are much higher because they're actually a lot more advanced, right? And so for students who do that, they can then do their masters there, and they have their training in the UK system, and they stay there. Why not, right? Because I'm already in the system. I can get a really nice job, right? And so for in Malaysia, the jobs are not as clear because a lot of the jobs available are with the government, PDRM, right? And you've seen PDRM come here, right? And Institute Kimia in Malaysia, and some of the jobs for insurance companies that looks at the forensic trail and all that, and of course universities. So with positions with these three different industries, companies, you can get a lot of positions available, right? And also because the policy changes, and you may not have openings anymore, right? So the other part is a lot of the forensics people who work in forensics are involved in motorcycle accidents, car accidents. As you've heard, we've had many speakers from PDRM come here and talk about that, because that's also forensics, and that's where a lot of the action is, because you have a lot of accidents on a daily basis, especially motorcycle accidents.
So you mentioned like one of the master's options, I think, to go to Strathclyde. So are there any like other masters or PhD options that you know are available as well?
Well, there are part of our partner schools as well. The King's College in London, right? But I don't think they have the forensics program, but I don't think we have an articulation with them yet. But it's just one thing to explore. And of course, in the US, there's so many. Right? There are a lot of universities who actually have that, and they need a lot of that because a lot of things are happening over there. You know.
So Prof already talked about the partner universities. Then we just move on to like how should students decide between working immediately after graduation, like versus to continue further study for their master, PhD.
Okay.
That's a good
So
question.
this is a tough one. For me personally, I'll share my story, and then I'll ask you what you think. When my undergraduate degree was in biology, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, biology, what? So many things in biology. So I'm like, I know I want to get a PhD, but I don't know in what area. So then I went out and I worked, and where I worked, I was a I worked in electron microscopy. I was a technician,
Mm-hmm.
and I figured, hey, this is fun, but I don't want a career in this,
Yeah.
right? So I worked another job, right? So it's just trial and error for me because I didn't, I didn't know anything. And so eventually I found out what I wanted to do, right? So by taking a break after you finish your undergraduate, working a little bit, you achieve a few things. You make a little bit of money to pay off your loans.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you learn all those transferable skills. Because in the old days, like I said, I'm old. In the old days, we had a very strict curriculum, even in the U.S., right? Where you do this, and then you graduate. But nowadays, because this importance is stressed on communication skills, right? The when I worked after my undergraduate, I learned how to communicate, right? I was not as comfortable speaking as I am now. Before, I used to keep quiet. Honestly, yeah, believe it, right? I used to be very, very quiet and timid as a mouse, right? So learning all those things. Can I speak up if something doesn't work, right? Like sometimes the buffers will expire. Who do I talk to?
Yeah.
You know, I I know the person who made it. Am I going to confront that person? Right? Do I want to blah blah blah? Right?
Yeah.
So working through those situations actually helped build a lot of confidence, right? And gave me how to. Gave me an incentive to learn how to speak, public speak, all those things, right? And then once I had that, then I could have a clearer mind of what I wanted to do.
I see.
Right? So what do you think?
Well, I mean, since I'm a bit older, I think I should.
Okay,
I'm a bit
semester
older.
5. Gosh.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I actually kind of had like a similar outlook as you, because I was planning on working a bit before doing a master's or PhD, simply because I don't know what I want to get into, and I think, yeah, it's really important to, to go through these things and go through these situations, because like school and high school specifically doesn't really teach you how to deal with people, and they just teach you like, oh, here's study material and then here's an exam, please do it. And one of the things I learned here was that there's so many different kinds of people out there. How, like you said, what do I do if this is broken? Should I confront them? Should I not? Oh, I don't want to cause a problem. So there's a lot of that, and like I'd say working would be better, just a bit, like a few years, because even me, like when I first did presentations in uni, I had a lot of like stage fright, and I would like shake. You could see me visibly shaking, and now like I'm starting to become okay with it, and so I think it's important, and I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I also like will decide to go for working first. So like also like build the communication skills, because I'm quite afraid like talk to others like from
Just
shit
wait till you have
really.
me in the
Yeah.
class.
Yeah, so yeah, I will same like you guys like go to work first and then continue studying, like know what I want to go for our the master program.
Yeah, because now you see the benefits, right?
Yeah.
You see, before in the old days, people go do a master's or PhD because they don't have no other choice. Like I want to be a perpetual scholar, right? Just want to continue. But then the value of not working in the real world setting, that it is it's a real minus, because when they are confronted with a situation, it's very difficult for them to figure out how to do it. Like you said, how am I gonna who am I gonna ask? And I don't wanna look. I, I don't want to use the word dumb, but dumb in front of my advisor or supervisor. So I'll just keep quiet and figure it out myself. And then what happens, right? And it snowballs to the point that, oh my gosh, I really need help. It gets to the point that it's a point of no return. So it's better to face the situation sooner than later. And by doing it that way, you build courage, you effectively communicate. We always come back to these two words, right? And then you are able to manage the situation comfortably. See, you see what I mean, audience? Instead of them interviewing me, this has, I mean, in a way, you sharing with me, me sharing with you makes it actually more engaging.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's better for the audience because you hear my perspective, but then they also hear your perspective, which is equally as important. Because you're not, if you were to interview me with, just reading off the thing, I can just read off the question and talk to the camera.
Yeah.
But now we have this engagement. I think it'll be hopefully be more fun for the audience to see this interaction.
I hope so too. Okay. Last question on postgraduate pathways. So, are there any like common misconceptions that students have about postgraduate pathways in forensics or anything?
Well, I guess we can open it up to everything. It doesn't have to be just forensics. I think when we in the US call it graduate, even though it's post, right? Post means post bachelor's, but we call it graduate school. So in graduate school, the danger is, the student feels very comfortable. I really, just go to one or two classes and spend the rest of my time doing research. Not like undergraduate where, very packed, timetable. So that's how graduate school is. And sometimes, the student who who do that, they then tell themselves, oh, this is very comfortable. I just can continue doing it for the 4 or 5, 6 years, right? And so in the US, what they did was they actually cut it down because sometimes we have graduate students PhD for 7 years, go up PhD 7 years. Whereas in the US, it's actually 4 years. So it's a slightly different way. You have 2 years of coursework and 2 years of research. Here is 3 years, by research, right? And so when a lot of students did that, they're like, because as you know, in science, the data is outdated already if you wait longer, especially now, right? So the comfort level as a graduate student has to be more realistic, meaning this is my time frame, I have to finish this, right? And sometimes also if students who don't work right after the undergraduate, they tend to say, hey, I want to be a perpetual scholar, and they go into the PhD and they figure out this is not what I want to do. Then what? Right? Then what happens? Right? So the good thing is in the US you can say, hey, I don't want to do a PhD, I can then do a master's. One step down, meaning that at least I get a degree out of it. Then I can work and figure out what I want to do. So this is one of the things that, working after your undergraduate gives you that completely different perspective of exploring what you want to do, in addition to learning your transferable skills. So I think those are the two key ones that I would pick out for advice.
I see. So before we close, what are some key takeaways you would like to leave with our listeners who are considering forensic science as their career path for the career path?
Well, in Malaysia, like I said, forensic science may be a bit limited, right? And but not to take away from the fact that you have a love for forensic science. Continue with forensic science, but as you're doing your internships and all this with forensic science, enhance your transferable skills, right? Communication, effective communications, conflict resolution, documentation, systematic documentation, learning all the new digital aspects, right? Because now everything is digitalized, and just keep up with what's going on in the real world, right? Because as you know, like vaccines, right? From heat killing or attenuating a vaccine, now you have mRNA. Who would have known? And that's biotechnology growing. So adapting to the situation. So as you study forensic science, you enhance those skills. And who knows, if there's an opening for a forensic science, go ahead, go for it. But if there's no openings, but you have the skills and techniques, right? You can then look at different areas, different jobs. So it makes you very marketable, right? And alternatively, you can go abroad, like, try to transfer this Stratclyde and continue a master's and do your PhD, and then you work in different areas in abroad. And when the time is right, come back, because Malaysia is next October. They opening. They're going to have the National Institute of Forensic Medicine, right, in close to HKL, right, October 2026, where it's a four-story building. They'll have forensic pathology, forensic toxicology, digital forensics, radiobiology, and all that. They will have all those aspects, but they will also have all the different other things that we're talking about, all the how do you communicate kind of thing, how to use digital things. So that's something to look forward to. So hopefully by the time you come back from internship, that may be ready, and of course when you do it, that may be ready as well. So it's not so bleak, because Malaysia is pushing towards that. And but not to take away anything else, the most important point is to build up your transferable skills, and because that makes you extremely marketable and gives you the confidence as well to approach whatever area that you would like. Okay.
Okay. So lastly, do you have like any final advice for us students who want to make the most out of our university years? I mean, I'm in my last, so any advice is welcome.
What have I talked about? The last, was it 1 hour?
No, in terms of like extracurricular, would you say like should you do more extracurricular or less and focus more on?
Well, in IMU, you have a lot of opportunities. Like when we have events going on, when you have BM Day, ME Day, right? So you guys come in and you figure out where you belong, what you want to do. But remember, you're a huge class. Not everybody will get that opportunity, right? You have 60 over, I'm not sure about you, but you have 60 over students. So it's up to you to take that extra step. So which means, can you go up to your lecturer and say, hey, can I help with so and so and so? Is there an opportunity for me to do so and so and so? Right? Go to student services, go to marketing and say, hey, I'd like to help out with certain areas. Because you are then optimizing. It's really up to you. Because there is no rules to say you can't do this, you can't do that. Right? And don't expect us to say, okay, you go ahead and do this, okay? But, get A's. No, because you know your limitation.
Yeah.
You know how you manage your time. See, time management again. Right? And you know which professor or lecturer you can approach to ask for certain things to do. Yeah, So that's one of the things, that's the most important thing I can suggest. There are a lot of opportunities, it's just whether you want to take it and look for it.
So take matters into our own hands.
Yeah, that's it. Seize the day. Carpe diem.
Yeah. Okay, so that's about it. I think we can all take away a lot from today's discussion, and that was like a very meaningful note to end on. So thank you so much, Prof. Chin, for your time and guidance today.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into Biomedcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us so you don't miss the next one.
Until next time, this has been From Cells to Clues. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.